So today, for breakfast, we've got some beautiful eggs with green pepper and mushrooms. And we're going to put a little bit of cheese on it and some Tabasco, because I love my hot sauces. And I find Tabasco is a sort of a milder one that has a lot of that vinegary flavor. And I find that's really, really good with eggs. I don't want something that's too strong, like a Scotch bonnet or anything, so yeah. Now if you see, I've already turned the heat off on the stove. So let's put in our cheese. Whoop. Whoop, whoop, whoop. Yeah, I'm not very good at omelets. I'm really bad at like flipping and stuff, so that's why I just do like a basic scramble. But yeah, generally like you don't need a super high heat, and the eggs will keep cooking because once it gets to a certain temperature, because the stove will stay warm. You don't want to get those proteins all. Want them to be nice and yeah, see, perfect. Just put that on a plate. Should be all ready. See, the cheese will just melt very nicely in there. Awesome. So let's get some of these. Boop. Boop, boop. Tasty, tasty. Let's have a bite. Hi, Harry. Hi, buddy. Yeah. Harry likes to sniff and see what kind of food I've got. Yeah. Yeah. Let's try it with a little bit of the sauce on it. Oh yeah, Tabasco. I'm a bit of a hot sauce fiend. I love hot sauces. So let's give this a bit of a mix. Oh, hey there. So I'm at work now. Normally I don't eat like a big breakfast like that. I usually actually only have coffee in the morning. I don't have much of an appetite. Generally it's only if I end up staying up super late and into the morning that I'll have basically like a breakfast as a final dinner. So that's what that was. But really, what I wanted to talk to you guys about today, sorry, I'm a little bit frazzled, it's been quite a week. What I wanted to talk to you guys about today was whether or not I should become a pescatarian. This is something I've been considering for a while. Now, if you're not sure, basically what a pescatarian is, there's someone who, they're on the verge of being a vegetarian. Basically what they do is they only eat poultry and fish or shellfish products. So yeah, that's it's kind of riding the line. And more lately, actually, I find myself doing this anyway, because I do every once in a while have cravings for red meat. I do like a steak every now and again, but generally, my diet when it comes to proteins, I stick to poultry, like chicken, or fish. I love fish, and I really love duck and chicken. Those are my favorites. Just absolute all-time. I also eat eggs, clearly, and milk products, because I put a lot of cream in my coffee. But that's about it. Now, for me, I find it's a very healthy way, for me at least, to live my life, you know? But it's not for everyone. Of course not. But this is something I've been considering because I'm already basically halfway there, other than the occasional, like I said, steak or a little bit of bacon. Right now, pork is super cheap. But on the ethical side, I do have some trouble with the idea of eating something as intelligent as a pig, to be quite honest. That's really a big thing for me. Now, I guess this is going to delve into a bit of a story time, but I used to work, before I moved to the city, back when I was living in rural New Brunswick, in the middle of the country, backwoods, I used to work in the salmon farming industry. Now, the salmon farming industry is exactly the same as any other factory farming industry. It is no better, and it is no worse. I have seen some things that I am horrified to say. To give you an example, in the salmon hatchery that I worked at, the corporate head up would push on us to have quite literally double the amount of fish that our hatchery and our tanks were rated for. So these fish, let's say you could have 20,000 swimming in a tank, they'd load us up 40,000 per tank. And then they'd wonder why bacteria and fungus and diseases were so prevalent. We had one summer for an entire month where it was just literally 8 of us would go around from tank to tank on our hands and knees picking dead fish up and out and scooping them out. And by the time you reach the end of the row, you have to go all the way back and do it over again because the tank's overflowing because all the filters and screens are clogged full of dead fish. They were literally dropping like flies. A plague, a mystery plague. We had biologists, we had tons of people coming in and out, testing our water quality, testing our fish, and they couldn't figure it out. Eventually just went away on its own. That's what you get when you squish a bunch of animals together in a horrible, horrible mill. They're just in a meat grinder, churning and churning. That affected me quite a bit. I've seen every aspect of the salmon farming industry, from spawning eggs to basically farm ready. So when you go on the salmon cages, and then you harvest them. I wasn't actually a harvester. I worked on a maintenance barge, doing just general, like, fixing up nets and stuff on the cage sites. But I've seen it all, other than the actual packaging portion of it, that's the one thing that I wanted to avoid, working in the actual factory and canning and butchering the already dead fish. But yeah, so I still have some hang-ups about that, and considering what we know about fish, how they're a lot more intelligent than, a lot of people take credit for, the whole goldfish have 9-second memories. They don't. Goldfish are in the carp family, and they can live upwards of 20 years. In the right conditions. They grow throughout their entire lives. They will remember not only who feeds them, but when and where. They have kinds of food that they like. They're not as stupid as people take them for. If you can live 20 years, you don't have a 9-second memory. I'm sorry. Now, where I've been in the farming industry before, for a few years, I almost feel more comfortable being able to eat fish, despite knowing what I know, because I've seen, the ugly truth. I'm not shocked by it. I know exactly what I'm getting into. I know exactly how it works, and that's something that I'm willing to do. Fish, I'm willing to eat them, for sure. Now, I also have experience with poultry and farming. My mom, she loves animals. My whole family loves animals except for my dad, but we don't talk about him. Anyway, so she had a lot of hobby farms. We've had goats throughout our life. I love our little goats. We've had a cow from when I was about 16 to 18. She was lovely. Her name was Suki. She was great. Nice little, well, not little, big black cow. And we also had chickens, various different kinds throughout the years. And I've helped her slaughter them. I slaughtered my first chicken when I went to, or I didn't personally slaughter. I saw my first chicken slaughtered when I was about 5 or 6 years old, visiting my relatives in Malaysia. I'm half Malaysian, in case you didn't know. So I was over there, and yeah, I watched them take a chicken, chop its head off, dunk it in boiling water, and pluck off the feathers, and we ate that chicken for dinner that night. And since then, yeah, I've helped my mom slaughter chickens before. I've held them, feeling their death rattle as they die, and eaten it immediately. The next, or, that evening. So, I'm no stranger to that. It is kind of horrifying, but knowing what I know and having been party to the process, I feel, much more ethically able and ethically sound to make the choice, because I know that if push came to shove, I could do those things, and I have done those things if I can and if I need to. So it's not something that, I have particular hang-ups about those animals, because I've done it before, and I know the bad side and I know the good side. You see, that was kind of the juxtaposition between those two stories. One is the worst kind of factory farming that you see, and one is a situation where you ethically raise and free range and feed your chickens properly, and you treat them right, and then you slaughter them as humanely as you possibly can, and you eat them. So yeah, I've been at both spectrums, and I've understood both, and that makes me feel much better about eating them, because it's a life, and I do hold high value for almost any life, So I guess right now, the only thing that's really holding me back is cost. Because right now the costs of meat have been steadily rising. It really upsets me that the cheapest meat right now to find is pork. Because as I mentioned, pigs are very intelligent, and I don't like to eat pork. I know I mentioned bacon earlier in the video, but I still feel a little bit guilty when I eat it. When I can have alternatives like, say, turkey bacon, I will take it. Because the reason I do buy it is because it is the cheapest meat available to me right now. Chicken and fish, thankfully, are a close second. And I generally tend to stay away from red meat, except for a few corner cases here and there, a couple times a year. I do eat ground beef occasionally. However, taking it back to the whole factory farming, or not factory farming, sorry, the raising of your own food, I also have helped my mom, string up deer and butcher them, because my mom is a hunter. She hunts and she kills a deer once every year, but that is enough for the three of us, her, myself, and my sister, to have enough meat, good meat, all winter, well into usually the spring, and sometimes the summer. There's been times where we've had to struggle to try and finish it because it was a particularly big deer. And the fact that, she hunts herself, she butchers it herself, she even grinds her own meat into, a hamburger. That, I think, is a lot better. And I have a lot more greater respect for it. Now, I also recognize that I'm in a very privileged position, that I'm able to do that. That I live in an area of the world where I have access to enough rural areas, even though I do live in a city. My mom still lives in my rural hometown, where she is able to hunt and, have a space to butcher her own meat and provide in that fashion. Many, many people don't. A lot of people don't. I'm very fortunate that I have that option. Otherwise, like I said, I might only eat red meat a couple times, My sister's boyfriend, he has a barbecue in the summertime every now and again. And sure, we'll have some steaks, but that's... And, the odd bacon bits every now and then, like bacon strips every now and again, or sausage with my breakfast. That is pretty well the extent. So, I guess the title of this video was a bit clickbaity at the end of the day, because it's not so much a question of, should I be a pescatarian? It's more of, should I let myself fall down that line, you know, because it is going to take some sacrifices. And, you know, I couldn't call myself a true pescatarian if I still ate the deer meat that my mother provided. But that's also a situation where, you know, I wouldn't reject it because of the privilege that I mentioned. You know, I will take advantage of that privilege that I am afforded for this particular situation. You know, as a trans woman, there's not a lot of privilege that I do get to experience, and so what little I do, I will take, you know. I guess as a working class, squarely working class trans woman, yeah, I will take whatever little privileges I can get. So anyway, yeah, I guess let me know in the comments, you know, what are your opinions on this? Like, do you feel, you know, the ethical conundrum? Do you think it's more of a, you know, like a health thing? Because I do find that I feel a lot better not eating so much red meat. You know, every now and again, it's great. But if you're eating every day, it's not good for your heart, it's not good for your cholesterol, things like that. So I don't know, let me know what your opinions are and what you think. You know, should I take that jump and just embrace what I can and go fully into it? Or do you think that, you know, I could be safe living myself as pescatarian, eating, you know, just the deer meat that my mother provides once a year? So, I don't know. Let me know, and like and subscribe if you like it, and love you guys.